You are performing this repair at your own risk. We cannot be held responsible for any injuries or damage done to your device while attempting a repair. This is a fast-paced version on how to replace the screen on the iPod Touch 4. For a link to our more detailed video, please see the description below. For this repair, we'll need 4 plastic clamps, a heat gun or hairdryer, a small flathead, small phillips, plastic pry tool, pre-cut screen adhesive, and our replacement screen. On the iPod we'll be repairing, the corners are not dented. If the iPod has dents similar to the iPod shown here, we'll either have to bend out the casing with the pliers, cut out a chunk of the plastic bezel, or shave away at the bezel. The chosen method will depend on the extent of the damage. We'll start by powering off the device. Using your heat gun or hairdryer, heat the perimeter of the iPod, focusing on the top and bottom portions. Keep your heat gun moving to prevent any damage. Apply packaging tape over the affected areas. Wedge in between the bezel and glass, and pry up the screen from the bottom enough so that you can slide your metal pry tool underneath the screen and use leverage to lift it away from its adhesive. The screen should be lifted at an angle towards the top, as there are still cables attached in this area. In the upper left corner, the Wi-Fi antenna will stick to the back of the screen and should be peeled away using a small flathead screwdriver as shown. Continue opening the screen and the LCD cable should unplug on its own. If it doesn't, you can use a small flathead screwdriver or plastic pry tool to unplug it. Free the screen from its remaining adhesive up top and cut the digitizer cable with the scissors for convenience. We'll need to recover the home button and top metal bracket, as these will be used on our replacement screen. Next, remove all remaining adhesive and glass from the perimeter of the iPod. We now have a total of 8 Phillips screws holding this metal plate down that will need to be removed. Next, remove the metal bracket covering the rear-facing camera by carefully wedging the metal pry tool in between the rear camera and the metal piece. Next, we'll be removing the metal insert, but do be very cautious of the power volume flex cable, which can be torn or damaged quite easily. There's adhesive located in the 2 areas being pointed out, so we'll first heat these areas with the heat gun before prying. Using your plastic pry tool, pry in the 2 areas shown. Here, be careful of the power cable, don't pry directly over it, and here be careful of the internal speaker, which is located directly below this point. Lift out the metal insert as shown, and be careful not to tear the copper ground, which is stuck to the back side of the rear camera and metal insert. You'll need to peel this away from the back camera. If you tear it, it's not a big deal, just make sure these 2 points touch on reassembly. Next, remove these 2 Phillips screws at the top. Now we're going to be lifting the board up just enough to allow us access to the digitizer port. Be extremely careful of the power volume flex cable, and be extra cautious about the board not catching the back side of the power cable and tearing it as we bring up the board in this area. As you bring up the board, lift the rear-facing camera out from its socket and peel the front-facing camera away from its hold on the inside case. Part the copper tape surrounding the digitizer cable at the top and use your small flathead to unplug the digitizer cable. Peel off the 2 rear protectors from the replacement screen. Adhere the home button and top metal bracket to the new screen. Slide the digitizer cable underneath the area where it plugs in. Use your small flathead screwdriver to push upwards and blindly plug this cable in. This is a difficult process. Tuck the board flush and push the rear-facing camera back in its socket. Reinsert the 2 Phillips screws at the top of the logic board. Fold the metal insert back in place. Push the copper tape back down on the rear-facing camera and reinsert the 8 Phillips screws holding down the metal plate. Reinstall the rear metal camera bracket. Adhere the pre-cut adhesive strips to the bottom and top portions of the iPod. Before removing the paper backing from the tape, plug the LCD in and flip your screen over. Power up your iPod and make sure everything's functioning as it should. Unplug the LCD cable. Remove the paper backing from the top adhesive strip. Flip the screen over and remove the paper backing from the bottom strip. For a stronger bond, we'll apply small dabs of superglue gel on top of the adhesive strips, which will allow us to repair the screen in the future if needed. Apply the small dabs of glue about 1/4 inch apart. It's important that you use superglue gel and not regular superglue, as superglue gel does not run. Plug in the LCD cable and make sure that the digitizer cable is bent in the orientation shown. Fold the screen over, but keep it raised up from the adhesive. Keeping the screen on during the process of setting it flush will make visible any pressure points on the back side of the screen that indicate a risk of damaging the LCD. Set the top portion flush by slightly angling the screen and overlapping the bottom so that we can bring the screen upwards and tuck the lip from the metal bracket under the bezel. Continue by folding the bottom portion of the LCD down and setting it flush in the iPod. Run your fingers around the perimeter to secure the screen to its adhesive. Heat the areas of adhesive to make it extra tacky. Clamp the 4 corners of the iPod and let it set for 25 minutes. If there was power going to the LCD screen when it was unplugged at any point during the repair, you will get a white screen. A hard reset will solve the issue. However, if your power button was damaged, you'll need to restore the device. If you get no power at all to the display, try a hard reset. Also, make sure the LCD cable is plugged in all the way, and be sure the device has a charge. Check us out on the web at gadgetmenders.com, where we offer a full line of parts and services for this device and many others.